Hey friends, I'm Professor Singer, and I lead Tharaka Invention Academy here in Miramonte, Kenya. You know, around the world something powerful is happening. Innovation just isn't flowing down from Silicon Valley labs anymore. It's bubbling up from villages, towns, and cities across the global south. Right here where billions of people live and work. At this academy, my mission is to help you master the most valuable skill on earth today. Creative problem solving. Creative problem solving. Knowledge by itself is just information. But when you apply it, when you test it, when you shape it, and when you use it, that is when knowledge becomes power. And with AI as your partner, artificial intelligence, that power multiplies tremendously. Let's step into this journey together now. From tradition to technology, from imagination to invention. The year might be 2026, but the future starts right now. My nose itches, sorry. Let's get into it.
I'm Professor Singer, and this is your portal into the most recent and sharpest innovations and problem solving on the planet. While headlines chase noise, we chase breakthroughs from Nairobi to New Delhi, from street-level hacks to quantum leaps. This is where invention meets necessity and creativity meets constraint. Let's get to it. So let's step into this journey together, from tradition to technology, from imagination to invention. The year might be 2026, but the future starts right now. Let's get into it. Now let's hear from two of my former students as they explore what this week's brief really means.
Hey bro, good to see you again. Yo dog, I've been crazy working to come up with my own solutions to problems in my life and community. Change is happening too fast, and I do not expect or hope that anybody else is going to step up and lay those solutions in my lap. Well, maybe that's partially true, homie. The most valuable skill on earth. Creative problem solving, made unstoppable with AI as your collaborative partner.
Yeah, I guess you're talking about a major mindset shift. The only person who can do that for me is me. Studying these weekly briefs certainly helps take me there.
Okay, now that we have received training from Professor Singer's school Tharaka Invention Academy and completely read his book, Innovate Now, Master AI for Creative Problem Solving, what do you think about his weekly brief report he just issued?
I feel that a lot of the most beneficial innovations for humanity as a whole appear to be happening in the global south. Let's get into that and see what it all means.
Imagine a world where the most electrifying innovation isn't just born in those gleaming Silicon Valley labs we always hear about, but it's actually bottling up, vibrant and vital from communities all across the global south. And not in some far-off future, but like right now?
Exactly.
This week we're taking a deep dive into some truly groundbreaking approaches that are, well, fundamentally redefining how we solve problems globally.
Yeah, our mission today is really to unpack these diverse developments and maybe challenge some of those traditional ideas about what innovation even looks like.
For sure. We'll see that solutions can be technological, sure, but also financial, social, even governmental. And we've pulled together insights from, well, quite a stack of sources. Detailed weekly briefings, news outlets like All Africa, Radio National, Dick Columbia, all to explore what makes these approaches so effective, and crucially, why these stories of ingenuity from around the world matter for you, listening, and for understanding global progress.
What's striking, I think, is how these regions aren't just adapting existing solutions.
They're creating entirely new blueprints. It's not about importing ready-made fixes anymore.
It's about, customizing and co-creating solutions from within. It feels like a really powerful, self-reliant shift. It asks that question, right? What if scarcity isn't actually a limitation, but the ultimate catalyst for ingenuity? Yeah, Okay, let's unpack this first one then. We're starting with a really ambitious commitment in Liberia. The country just announced a massive US $900 million legacy investment agriculture program. I mean, that's a huge number. It really is. It signals a major push for food security, rural jobs, poverty reduction, the whole package.
But in a nation like Liberia, where resources are often stretched pretty thin, what are the biggest sort of unseen challenges or potential roadblocks as this homegrown plan might run into as it scales up?
That's a great question.
And maybe how are they planning to build real local capacity, not just implement projects from the top down?
You've absolutely hit on the core challenge there. And also, I think the true innovation. See, this program, which they unveiled at the Africa Food Systems Forum 2025, it isn't just about planting more crops. That's part of it, sure. But it really exemplifies innovation in policy and, crucially, in financing to tackle these systemic challenges. The insight isn't just what Liberia is doing, but how they're doing it. It's a powerful demonstration that even with, well, tight budgets, a strategic blend of national vision and targeted international backing can unlock a nation's self-reliance.
So less about aid, more about partnership.
Exactly.
It's less about receiving aid and much more about leveraging partnerships to build that internal capacity you mentioned.
That's a vital distinction for sustainable progress. For instance, they plan to expand rice cultivation by, I think it's 50,000 hectares. The goal is to finally end that dependence on imports. If this works, its success could genuinely inspire similar frugal innovation approaches across Africa, building resilience against future supply shocks. So, for you listening, this isn't just news from faraway Liberia, it's actually a template. Yeah, a template for how bold government leadership, coupled with those strategic partnerships, can drive sustainable development at a really impressive scale.
It's about designing a future from within rather than just reacting to external pressures.
Precisely.
Okay, so Liberia's commitment there highlights that power of internal resource mobilization, long-term vision, which then raises a crucial question, doesn't it? How else can regions leverage their own strengths to tackle these big systemic challenges? Moving from agriculture, let's look at health. West African experts are now rethinking the very foundations of epidemic research. Yes, specifically for Lassa fever.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. They're tackling a critical health challenge, and crucially, they're not just waiting for others to solve it.
No, they're not. And this is just a prime example of financial innovation as a form of problem solving in itself.
Financial innovation.
Yeah, ahead of a regional Lassa fever conference, experts were noting that this heavy reliance on foreign donors, well, it's left Africa's outbreak preparedness pretty vulnerable. Makes sense. So they're urging governments to adopt these innovative financing blends, combining domestic budgets, philanthropy, private capital to sustain R&D for Lassa and other diseases. The real ingenuity is in customizing models to their local context. And they're not just talking theory, right? Our sources mentioned some concrete, pretty clever ideas moving beyond just donor reliance.
Precisely.
One idea is maybe emulating South Korea's model, where the government guarantees, say, 50% of R&D funding to attract private investors for the rest. Okay, interesting. But what's really homegrown, and I think quite brilliant, is the proposal to earmark a small share of commodity export revenues,
Like the coffee or cocoa we mentioned.
exactly like coffee or cocoa, to fund health research directly. You're tying economic productivity straight to scientific investment. That's smart. This push directly addresses that funding brain drain issue and empowers local scientists, local entrepreneurs. It just shows solutions don't have to be only technological. They can be institutional, financial. So what this means for you listening is potentially a powerful shift. It's not about waiting for external aid anymore. It's about building sustainable support for critical challenges by leveraging a region's own unique assets and economic drivers. And this also leads towards developing what they call a value-driven bio-industry ecosystem in Africa. A bio-industry ecosystem?
Right.
What does that mean exactly? Well, it's essentially an interconnected network of local businesses and research focused on creating biological products and services, but crucially ones that align with local needs and local ethics. This is really critical for pandemic preparedness, obviously, but also for spurring biotech innovation, creating jobs, especially as climate change and population growth raise the stakes for epidemic threats.
Okay, so from finance and health, what does all this mean for energy?
Colombia seems to be putting clean power generation directly into the hands of its citizens.
Yeah, with these community energy projects.
They've just launched their first call for proposals, backed by over 11 billion pesos.
That's about what, US $2.8 million to fund 4 pilot projects.
Now, empowering communities sounds fantastic.
It's a great ideal, but implementing decentralized energy systems, that can be fraught with technical complexities, management challenges, right?
Absolutely.
So what are some of the biggest hurdles these pilot projects in Colombia are likely to face, and how are they being equipped to overcome them?
That's a critical question, definitely, because the real innovation here is, I think, in the approach itself. It's grassroots innovation in action. Local communities partnering up with scientists, with energy companies. They'll design and operate their own renewable energy systems.
2 projects in the National Grid Zone, 2 in off-grid rural areas.
So not top-down.
Exactly. Instead of that top-down centralized infrastructure approach, it empowers local problem solvers, community leaders, local engineers, maybe even students to tailor solutions to their specific contexts.
Okay, but the hurdles.
The hurdles, yeah, of course.
It would be coordination, technical training, maintaining that long-term community engagement.
That's always tough.
However, the program aims to address this by fostering these partnerships explicitly.
It aligns science, technology, and innovation policy with clean energy goals.
And crucially, it offers both the funding and the validation for these maybe slightly out-of-the-box ideas.
Validation is key.
It really is. And this is particularly impactful in the global south, where community energy systems can potentially leapfrog expensive centralized grids and foster local entrepreneurship at the same time.
So for you listening, this shows how problem solving is shifting.
It's becoming more inclusive.
Definitely. Drawing on indigenous knowledge, getting local buy-in, co-creation. The language they use, like energy as a right and the community as a protagonist, signals a really profound change in approach.
Yeah, it turns Colombia's energy transition into a kind of living lab for socially driven innovation.
And that could yield new models applicable right across the global south.
Colombia's community energy projects, they really demonstrate that incredible power of empowering local citizens to drive change.
So expanding on that theme, that decentralized problem solving. Yeah, let's look at Uganda. They're tapping into their most dynamic resource, their youth, right? To tackle an even broader challenge, climate change.
Right, to tackle an even broader challenge.
Yeah, climate change.
With the Bauchi Panda Youth Innovation Challenge. Now, how do these kinds of challenges move beyond just being, good publicity or nice idea? How do they truly foster sustainable, scalable solutions?
That's a very fair question, and I think the success often lies in the structure of the challenge itself.
Well, this is a brilliant example of how successful innovation models can actually scale across borders. It's almost like a social franchising for impact.
Social franchising? Like McDonald's, but for good?
Yeah, kinda. A proven model for social good is systematically replicated and adapted across different regions. Here, it's telecom giant MTN Uganda and WWF launching this program. They invite young people ages 18 to 35 to pitch projects addressing food security, clean energy, water access, all areas under serious strain from climate change.
And Uganda isn't the first?
No, Uganda is actually the 5th African market to adopt this challenge. It was first piloted in Zambia back in 2022. Which really speaks to its replicability.
Okay, but what happens to these ideas once they're pitched? Is it just like, here's some seed money, good luck?
No, and that's where the impact part of that social franchising idea really comes in. Winners receive seed funding, roughly $5,000 for first place.
Which isn't nothing, but maybe not enough to scale massively.
Right, but along with that, they get incubation and mentorship. This public-private partnership creates a genuine pipeline.
Pipeline?
Yeah, from classroom creativity maybe to real-world solutions. It proves that with the right support, youth can deliver high-impact solutions for their communities.
So it's like crowdsourcing local solutions.
Effectively, yes. Crowdsourcing solutions for local climate adaptation, smarter farming, community water systems, whatever it might be, and then providing the ecosystem to help them grow.
So for you listening, it shows how investing in that next generation of problem solvers,
Exactly.
with just a bit of seed funding and mentorship, it can lead to these locally adapted, often frugal ideas for huge problems like climate change.
It validates youth as capable innovators and reinforces that commitment to sustainable, inclusive growth.
Okay, from grassroots youth initiatives tackling climate change, let's shift gears quite
Dramatically.
to a nation that's, well, quite literally leapfrogging into the future with frontier technology.
Now, for something that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a futuristic movie, Rwanda making aviation history with Africa's first ever public flight, a pilotless electric air taxi.
Yeah, incredible stuff.
This isn't just some lab experiment, it's a public demonstration. But okay, while the concept is exhilarating, how does a country like Rwanda actually integrate such cutting-edge, complex technology into its existing infrastructure, its regulatory framework, without creating more problems than it solves?
It's a huge question.
And the sheer pioneering spirit here is what really stands out, I think, right?
At the Africa 2025 summit in Kigali, this Chinese-made drone EHAN EH216S, a two-seater, it's going to demonstrate advanced air mobility, AAM. Yeah, and the vision is, reduced city traffic, connect remote communities, provide eco-friendly transport. Rwanda isn't just consuming innovation, they're actively piloting it at the frontier.
And you're right to question the integration, but Rwanda actually has a track record here, a pretty good one.
Right, it builds on their existing successes with drone technology, doesn't it?
They've been using them for healthcare delivery for years.
Exactly, that's the key point.
Rwanda has already seen success with delivery drones in healthcare, bringing vital supplies like blood to remote areas quickly.
So this new initiative demonstrates how public-private partnerships like Rwanda's government working with China's EHang and CRBC can bring novel technology to underserved markets effectively.
So they can potentially leapfrog
legacy infrastructure altogether, especially in regions with poor road networks.
their previous experience with drone regulation, air traffic management. That gives them a significant head start.
It suggests a real paradigm shift in delivering services and maybe even in how we conceive urban mobility.
Wow.
The symbolic value here feels immense.
An African country helping define next-generation transport.
Totally.
And for you listening, it ensures this new tech gets adapted to local needs like affordable, efficient transport, rather than just being designed for, say, Western contexts.
Yeah.
It suggests a future where African cities help define the very cutting edge of transport innovation, not just follow it.
Okay.
Let's unpack this last initiative then. While Rwanda is flying high with drones, Côte d'Ivoire is tackling a deeply rooted social issue. A very different kind of challenge.
Yeah.
With the groundbreaking cross-sector alliance, this is about addressing child labor in cocoa communities, which is, as we know, a notoriously complex, deeply entrenched issue.
There have been many past failed interventions.
Absolutely.
So what makes this specific integrated model genuinely different from previous attempts? And I guess how do they ensure it avoids becoming just another temporary fix?
You're asking the absolute critical question there.
And the key insight, I think, is that this showcases social innovation beyond high tech.
Right.
Right?
It's a 20 million euro partnership. Chocolate maker Ferrero, Save the Children, the Italian Development Agency, AICS.
They're expanding a pilot project from 80 villages to 235 communities.
Big scale up.
Huge.
Aiming to reach about 42,000 children by 2030.
What makes it different is its integrated approach.
It treats child labor not just as, a crime to be stopped,
but as a symptom.
Exactly.
Is a symptom of deeper problems, things like extreme poverty, lack of basic services.
There's not just punitive like cracking down,
Yeah.
but it's also preventative and supportive.
Precisely. The program attacks those root causes. It funds schools, birth registries, basic health care, nutrition support, women-led livelihoods.
Okay.
But the truly innovative part, the systemic change bit,
is that it embeds child labor monitoring and remediation directly into the supply chain itself.
Into the supply chain.
Yeah, ensuring sustained improvements through ongoing oversight from the companies involved.
By pooling NGO expertise, public funding, and those in industry incentives, this alliance multiplies its impact in a way any one actor just couldn't achieve alone.
So it reframes the supply chain.
It reframes corporate supply chains as potential platforms, dynamic channels to deliver integrated social programs.
Wow. So for you listening, this is a really profound lesson, isn't it? That innovation can mean a new coalition or a new strategy just as much as a new gadget.
Absolutely.
And that ethical, culturally informed solutions can actually redefine norms and protect the next generation.
And as success in Cote d'Ivoire, well, Ivory Coast, I could provide a proof of concept, right?
To be replicated elsewhere.
Definitely.
In other sectors like coffee, mining, maybe textiles, anywhere, these issues of child labor and exploitation persist.
Hashtag tagged. Overall reflection and connection to listener.
Wow. Okay. What a deep dive that was. From agricultural revolutions and bold new funding models, all the way to self-flying taxis and community-led energy. It's just so clear that innovation is truly flourishing in really diverse and, frankly, unexpected ways across the global south.
I'm genuinely struck by the sheer audacity of some of these initiatives.
You know, turning commodity exports into research funds or completely rethinking how children are protected within global supply chains.
It really challenges that conventional wisdom, doesn't it? That developing nations are always just playing catch-up.
Totally. What's the single biggest misconception do you think these examples shatter? Why does that matter?
I think the biggest misconception shattered is that innovation is primarily this top-down, technology-driven thing that originates solely from, highly resourced environments like Silicon Valley. These stories show the global south is turning perceived constraints into powerful catalysts for change. Innovation is no longer solely the domain of high-tech labs. It belongs to empowered communities, to creative coalitions worldwide. And there's often a pronounced ethical and social dimension baked in, asking not just can we do it, but who benefits and how can we do it to sustainify?
Exactly. Using what we already have. It proves that effective problem solving is decentralized, it's inclusive, and it's deeply connected to local needs and assets. It really makes you think about the incredible ingenuity happening globally.
Proving that effective problem solving is decentralized, inclusive, and deeply connected to local needs.
Okay, everybody, that's a wrap for today's deep dive on Professor Singer's Weekly Brief.
Thanks again for being part of Tharaka Invention Academy.